Now, how did you and Dr. Dre originally meet?
At 16, they were in the World Class Wrecking Crew,
Right.
and they had a lead singer. Her name was Mona Lisa. I finally remembered her name.
Yeah.
Mona Lisa, and they were local, you know, they were big locally, World Class Wrecking Crew, and she couldn't make it one night. And so Lonzo called me to fill in, and I did, and I was 16, and I just walked in the studio, waved to them, and Dre was the engineer slash producer, and they gave me a piece of paper and said, sing this. So I had to make up the melody and everything, because, you know, I didn't tell them I wasn't a professional. It was my first time in the studio and everything, but I didn't say anything. And that's when I first met him. And the only ones were there was him and Ren and Lonzo.
Wait, so Ren was already?
Well, Ren, was it Ren? Wait a minute. It was
Yella.
It was Yella. I'm sorry, Yella,
Yeah.
Dre, and Lonzo.
Okay.
And they, you know, because they're on the record. And Arabian Prince came through or something, but then he didn't stay.
Sure.
But, yes, and that's when I first saw him, but it was just, okay, I did it in one take and said goodbye.
I remember seeing or reading an interview like a long time ago with Dre, and he was saying how like you walked in with like the high-pitched voice, and they were like who is this? You know, and then like, but once you got in the booth, they were like, whoa.
Yeah, that was Dre's reaction, was just like, you know, and so Lonzo just gave me the paper, and and then Dre was like, oh, that's what he said. And but other than that, other than me saying, you know, okay, thank you, goodbye, that was it. That was our first initial scene of, and then after that, Lonzo started having me come to his house because he had a studio. And then I got to see, that's when I would see the rest of them, because they were working on still World Class Wrecking Crew, finishing that song. And then they were developing their N.W.A. stuff.
Okay.
And that's when I saw, and I would just, but all I would say was hi.
Sure. Now that first song you did, was that Turn Off the Lights?
Turn off the lights.
Okay. And you did that hook?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you get paid for it all, or that was just?
No. It was on the radio 2 weeks later, and I'm still riding the bus to go to work and school.
I guess back then you don't know about contracts.
Because that's what I'm saying. I didn't know you
publishing
could get.
yeah.
I didn't know you could get rich.
Sure.
I had no clue. Had I known that song, but you have to remember, once I got on the record, it went around the world.
Yeah.
Which I was very proud about later on when I learned, oh my God, you guys really, they're saying I'm part of the World Class Wrecking Crew.
Yeah.
I wasn't, but
Yeah.
I never told them no.
Sure. Now the World Class Wrecking Crew at one point broke up, and N.W.A. was formed.
And he was forming N.W.A.
Okay. Now, what was your role during that whole transition kind of period? Were you still in contact with Dre and stuff like that?
That was the funny part, because I think Dre and Easy had like a bet. Dre would call me every morning at 9 a.m. and Easy would call me every morning like about 9:20 to 9:30. And I'm thinking, what game is this? But they would just call and say, hello, how are you doing? And I would go, I'm fine, I'm on my way off to work, because it took me 3 buses. So that was it, and we did that for weeks, and they never said anything. They never said, we want to go out with you, or nothing to that effect. So I was like, well, I said, oh my God, you know, they probably just want to, you know, and see who could, I thought it was a bet.
Okay.
So eventually, I really did, and so eventually, Dre said, yeah, you want to go hang out? Finally, after weeks of doing that, and I said, yeah, okay, we'll go hang out. And I think we were joined at the hip from then on. Okay.
Now, do you think Easy was interested in you as well? Or?
I think they just had this game to see. You know how guys are. I know what it was. Eventually, I kind of went, I think this is, yeah.
Gotcha. So you and Dre started to date at that point?
Yes.
Okay. You guys became serious?
Very.
Very serious. Okay.
Yes.
So, at what point between you guys starting to date and you actually getting signed to Ruthless Records and then putting out your album and so forth?
Almost a year, because Dre didn't ask me to sign, Easy did. Easy said, don't you? He just one day came in the office, and I'm waiting because they were going over some N.W.A. stuff. And with Jerry was there, and he said, don't you sing? And I said, well, yeah, because I've been doing hooks and have been doing skits. and everything, especially on the Compton swap meet. Remember those tapes? I'm all over those. So he was like, don't you sing? And I said, yeah, but you know, I was quiet still. I wasn't talkative. And he said, yeah, so then he said, you want to sign? And so I looked up at Dre because I always look for approval. I really didn't talk unless he, and he said, you want to? And I went, okay.
and then that
was it.
That's how the deal went. So you didn't have lawyers or anything else like that? You just put a contract in front of you?
I totally trusted Jerry because I saw how well he was taking care of, you know, everybody. We were kids from the ghetto. We were young kids.
Yeah.
You know, to me, he took us and he, you know, he embraced us.
Sure.
So,
now, you know, a lot of people, you know, had negative things to say about Jerry Heller.
How can you? He gambled on us.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you gamble and you spend a lot of money, you got to make what you want back. He took a big chance on us. We were driving $60,000, $70,000 cars, from catching buses to even Dr. Dre having no car at all. Come on, you want something.
So Jerry Heller was actually putting money into the label, like his own money, or?
Well, him and Easy, you know, Easy. They want to say he was selling dope. I don't know what he was selling out of his thing, but it was working.
Sure.
You know, I don't know what it was, but I know he was selling tapes out of the trunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've kissed him, and he's a good kisser, and that's all I'm gonna say for that.
Yeah, he's a good kisser.
He's an excellent kisser, probably one of the best I've ever had.
I'm not gonna lie, man. You to be non-biased. I don't know, man. I don't know, man. It's been like 4 or 5 days, man. It's like, I don't know. It might be a little too late. I don't know, man. It depends on how hard he come. You gotta come with some ether type shit, man.